Welcome to the Dr. Jane Mackenzie Live Miracle Medicine on a Thursday. Today I'm going to be bringing you some hard-driving facts about the gold standard in effective microorganisms, fermented probiotics, live strains, and sharing with you my microbiome reset, which I chose something like 15 years ago to be the gold standard. And I will show you why it is the gold standard and back it up with some case studies and personal use, of course. And many of you listening in will be personal users as well. I don't think anybody leaves the 365 Healthy by Choice Center here in Bryanston without a bottle of microbiome reset. And that's testimony to my passion for it, and not anybody comes back without a gut that's healed, restored, renewed, working better, digesting better. And it is all about digestion. It's not about absorption. Yes, it is, but the digestion comes first. So it's not really I have malabsorption, I have maldigestion. And I can tell you that I do scans in my center and in stores weekly. And I don't think one person has got absolutely spot on, optimized, maximized probiotics in their gut. And they're missing such a massive opportunity to heal, because 75% of our immunity stems from the gut. 75%. And I've spoken about this before. And those of you who want to know more, go to my YouTube channel, Dr. Jane Mackenzie. Use the search bar at the top, type in microbiome reset, type in gut, type in immunity, and you will find that I've said the same thing again and again and again. So we really, really, really want to get ourselves full of armor. The military, the microbes, they exist beautifully. And I spoke last week and the week before about the organisms in the friendly state. The minute there's an invader, they shapeshift into the opportunistic pathogen form, direct themselves to where the invader is, and help the white blood cells, T cells, NKF, killer cells, clear the invader, the toxin, whatever it might be. So if you don't have a good microbial gut, your biome, firstly, you're not going to digest properly, therefore you won't absorb properly, therefore you won't get all your food into the cell to make energy. Most people are not absorbing 50% of their plate of food. They're not, that trolley of food that they buy, 50% will get to their cell. Most people, imagine. And our ancestors knew differently. And I'm going to share that with you. So with that introduction, let me pull in the first slide and welcome you to the gold standard microbiome reset. And along with the use of the microbiome reset, we're using our flaxseed oil, we're using our oxygen, we're using our para-immune defense, our herbal detoxifiers, we're using our DMSO, we're using liver cleansers, kidney, gut, lung, lymph, circulation, all intertwined in the halo process, holistic integrated life orientation. Included in that would then be the holistic ancestral orientation, the emotional release, the release of the generational patterns. And I do that work day in and day out, and it is remarkable every single time. So this whole wheel, the halo wheel, the iterative process of people coming in, benchmarking, finding out their risks, knowing what the root causes are, closing that risk factor gap, purifying physically, purifying emotionally. This works. And we retest and we reset using any one of my quantum devices. So bringing in the 365 Healthy by Choice range. And I just remind you, there are no fillers, there are no binders, there's no wheat, no dairy, nothing that shouldn't be in there except the pure nutrient, specifically blended insofar as my signature product is concerned. So let's move now. You know what we're talking about, microbiome reset, the gold standard. And why I say that? It's based on ancient microbial wisdom, brewed today, fermented to meet modern scientific needs. And in the past, people would use their feeling. They never had pH meters. They never had thermometers to measure the temperature in the wooden house that they were busy fermenting their microbes. So we do have that availability today. We can measure the temperature of the room. We can measure the pH of the mixture. They would know instinctively when the microbial fermentation was ready to pour. They didn't measure it with less than 4 pH of 4. So we've brought in modern day precision, and this presents the live probiotic system. And I'm going to give you a little bit of history and then a little bit of how fermentation can occur, and then some more on the gold standard. And just know that we're not dealing with a supplement here at all. We're dealing with the food. It's akin to sauerkraut, miso, kimchi, idli, kefir, which I've been really, really talking about. But it has 80 live strains and substrains, and there is a certificate of analysis confirming that the mother culture that comes from Japan, which has the trademark, contains the 80 live strains. This is the only brew, to my knowledge, that has that, a certificate of analysis. And this is crucial because otherwise you might be selling brown water. You know, if you don't have a microscope and you can't look down and see, wow, this field is alive. Here's the background, what the probiotics look like exactly on my microscope. Can you see there's a blue background? I never put that background in. So when I put a drop of the brown probiotic microbiome reset onto the glass slide and cover it with a lens cap and put it under my microscope, what you're seeing here is what I see. This galaxy of lights. Stars holding their space, and that's what probiotics do. Beneficial organisms, they hold their space. The parasites zoot all over the screen. So I'm bringing you real live photographs, real live information about what's in this microbiome reset. In this bottle, if you put a drop of this on a microscope slide, you will see this. Absolutely miraculous. It is a food. That's why I'm saying it's akin to what we normally use, normal fermentation. But this one here has got aerobic and anaerobic organisms, brewed specifically by a master brewer. I can brew it, but I leave it to the master brewer because I've got a lot of things to do. And it comes through with a pH less than 4, normally around about 3.7. That is acidic. You can wash dishes in that. Vinegar has the same pH, and that's where the pathogens do not exist. They can't. So very, very, as I said, scientific precision is used today. So humans have used fermentation for ages, thousands of years. It happens automatically. You leave the milk out, cold clobbered milk, for a day or two, you're going to get a fermentation. You're going to get hardened curds. You're going to get your milk will ferment. And that upscales the intelligence of the food. It can now do even more for you. And it's partially digested, so the digestion takes even less energy. So any one of these things has been happening in nature anyway. You look at the forest floor. There's microbial interaction and fermentation happening in amongst the leaves. Compost is formed by fermentation process as well. Heat gets generated. It's microbial. And we've got evidence across Asia, Africa, Europe to support the fermentation, and I'll get into that in a moment, using the natural microbial ecosystems. And you know, the picture's just saying there, are you still feeling tired? It's your gut. You've got no energy. You've got no microbes. You've got no immunity. You've got no petrol to burn. You can't digest your food if you do not have microbes. We've forgotten about this. Our ancestors knew. We will eat a huge, big, giant-sized pizza without one extra microbe on it and hope that it gets digested, and it won't. And you're going to feel really lousy the whole night. You won't sleep properly, and in the morning too. You're not going to feel okay. The gut and the brain are linked. Watch last week, the week before, in my other YouTube educational videos. There's over 400 by now. Okay, so we've got to really have huge reverence for the gut. The gut lining will restore in 3 days. You just have to look after it. Okay, and remember that the probiotics, to grow them in the stomach, you need prebiotics. You need food for them so that they can produce colonies. You can't just be eating meat and oil. There's no probiotic there for the microbes to live on. They live on fermented milk, fermented grains, grain itself, cellulosey vegetables like artichokes and celery. That's what they live on. Fruit fiber. And if you're not including that in your diet, well, you're missing a massive step in the digestive process. You're harming yourself, actually, because what we don't absorb, the worms come to dissolve, to digest. And the worms will then grow and feed and replicate, produce waste, toxify you, burrow their way through the intestinal wall into the blood. We see it on the microscope and go everywhere. Cross the blood-brain barrier into the brain. And all they need is a stagnant body, no harmony within the body, no homeostasis, low oxygen, highly acidic, and they will flourish and they will poison you. And they're actually catabolic. They will break you down and disease will just plague you. In nature, if you're growing your veggies, the bugs bypass the healthy plants. Those plants that are planted in healthy soil, full of microbes. Now, a plant is living in a system that doesn't move. So those microbes can flourish, provided there's humus in the soil and compost and living material. We've got a moving system, so we have to replace. That's why the ancestors always had a bowl of something or two, of a fermented vegetable, a ferment like probiotic effective microorganisms, a fermented cheese, an idli, a miso, natto. They always had something like that, fermented beans on the table, knowing that this where they were going to add to the digestive process and build their biomes. It was like just second nature. They knew that you needed to do this. When we wash our vegetables and sterilize them and steam them and everything, of course, the natural microbial flora disappear immediately. So, in fact, there's nothing healthier than eating an organic carrot out of the ground. You know, being able to dust the soil off mostly, taking a peach off an organic tree. It's already got a microbial cloud around it. And this fermentation is occurring in the same microbial cloud that the plants live in, the animals living, and ourselves. So it works for all of us, not only humans, not only agriculture. So let's get out of this rut, you see, and get over the brain fog, the bloating, the fatigue, and the anxiety. And it happens like that. It's those people, but I eat so well and I don't fry my food, Jane, and et cetera, et cetera. Yes, but are you actually building your microbiome? And, you know, people can get actually instant relief. People feel with reflux, it can be instant relief. So let's have a look at some of this fermentation, and I'm going to read some of it to you because fermentation, as I said to you, it's a natural process. It happens automatically because there's microbes in the clouds. We're breathing them in and out anyway. We are 90% microbial. I'll speak about that in a moment. So it's going to happen. And, you know, that leads to practices across the globe, as I said to you. And using things like lactic acid, bacteria, yeast, fungi, to grow, but that they already exist. And it's interesting, I posted a clip on clabbered milk, where they literally just put it out to stand. And in 2-3 days, they've got almost like a cottage cheese effect at the top. The whey contains a lot of the bacteria, fungi, and yeasts as well. So don't throw it away. Don't need to drink it. Maybe for younger people, but that whey will be able to be used as another method of fermentation, which I'll speak to you about. So we want to have complex communities with many strains and substrains. Now, I've already said to you in the microbiome reset, we've got over 80 live strains with a certificate of analysis. So it's not maybe, all right? Made by a master brewer who tests. And it upscales the intelligence of the food. It enhances the food taste many times. If you're using it for agriculture, it's going to boost soil health. And you can see the difference between the spinach that got the microbes and the spinach that didn't. And increase human and plant resistance and strength, build immunity. So some of the key principles that can be used. The first one is the spontaneous fermentation. It happens in the forests, and using the natural microorganisms, they will always grow on some sort of carbohydrate substrate. So if you put extra rice that you have into the soil somewhere there where you live and cover it with soil, it will attract microbes, it will grow, it will attract the worms. It becomes immediately a mini compost heap because there's a starch substrate. Sorghum, legumes, they all start the fermentation process. Cabbage. So that would have been the spontaneous fermentation. Now you can also take that whey that I spoke to you about and add it to your existing milk to speed up the process of fermentation. You could add half a cup of microbiome reset to a substrate of the existing one that you buy. And for example, molasses, because we brew this with molasses, and it will brew it for you. There's a precision recipe to do this. So that is called backslopping, where you use part of the previous batch. When I brew my kefir with the little grains, I always leave some in the glass of that batch to inoculate the new milk that I pour in there to speed up the process. So I'm saying there that it ensures consistency and it strengthens the strains, because let's say some died off because of whatever. There was an X-ray machine or whatever. There's a fridge nearby. You will be inoculating your brew, your kefir, by bringing in some. It's called the backslopping method. So these are all absolutely perfect sound. And then we're also going to, moving from a symbiotic effect there, we're going to be looking at bacteria, yeast, and fungi, which exist in nature already automatically in the right colonies, in the right concentrations. So if you're doing soil in agriculture, you would do soil layering. It's a technique that was used in Asia. It's used to enrich depleted soil. So you can use it in your veggie patches after a year or so of growing your crops. Even if you are rotating, you can still use it there. And you would add your compost, some rice water, leaf mold, put it all into a shallow pit, and just then start layering your soil. And then you would leave it in the winter months, 4, 6, 8 weeks. And then when it's all broken down by the earthworms, the nematodes and things, then it's ready. It's already composted soil. And that's what happened in the subterranean way. And then you would grow your plants in that, and you would have plants that were really strong. And as I say, that's a balanced ecosystem with very high diversity. Also in Africa, they call it, there's a ferment called mother juice. a method involving fermentation of animal intestines, for example, cows, in water with molasses, again, manure already, green fodder, to create a potential microbial starter that can be refreshed for years. In Uganda, we've got Ajon brewing, a traditional sorghum beer technique where damp sorghum is buried to induce lactic acidification and then baked to gelatinize the starch before fermentation. So you see, it even got a bit scientific there. Nubian antibiotic brews. Archaeology evidence has shown us that 5,000 years AD, Nubian brewers produced fermented a tetracycline-laced beer. Can you imagine? Using soil bacteria, streptomyces, which was used to treat infections. So very, very interesting. In East Asia, koji and natto. Here they use aspergillus, called koji. And they will ferment the miso or the soya sauce. They'll also use a Bacillus subtilis in fermenting soybeans to create that natto. I don't know if any of you have ever tried natto, fermented natto, really, really high in vitamin K, cleans your arteries, bones, and it's fermented. So you're going to get magnificent digestion here. The food just slides through. And as I said, the key is to bring in as much diversity as possible. There are 4 key microbes that are essential and in this probiotic. This is aerobic and anaerobic. So aerobic means those that grow in air. Anaerobic means those that grow without air. And here we've got a balance here. We've got the lactic acid bacteria. They're crucial for lowering the pH, right down to 4 and below 4. And you'll find that in kimchi and sauerkraut and so on. Then we look at yeast, which are responsible for the alcoholic fermentation. When the pH is settled at 3.7, there's 0 alcohol, there's 0 molasses left. There's no starch left. And that's how it should be for kombucha and anything else that you use. Kombucha is often poured far too quickly. It's still sweet and it's got the alcoholic element. So kombucha should taste like enhanced vinegar. It should not be sweet at all. Otherwise, you're feeding the wrong organisms in your gut. And then we're dealing with filamentous fungi as well, or molds. And here you would use this in fermentation of temph and miso. And then the Bacillus species, the bacteria responsible for fermenting, like, for example, natto. So we're using yeasts, bacteria, fungi to produce our fermentation. Used especially, in fact, I first came across this was on a farm where the farmers were brewing this. And I looked down the microscope and I thought, wow, there was just a gazillion, like a galaxy of glistening lights down there. And I got more and more interested. And then I realized that, there was this brew with a certificate of analysis perfect for humans as well. The farmers don't go to this huge length, but they'll throw the peaches, the leaves, the bark, soil. And like I said to you, these all need prebiotics to live on. So you've got to add something. So even with us, even when you take the microbiome reset, you need to eat these prebiotics. And ancient people knew it, and well, we've forgotten about it. We've absolutely forgotten about it. So just to remind you, this has got a certificate of analysis from Japan who holds the trademark. They just do, okay? And guaranteeing the 60 live probiotic strains and substrains, brewed by a master brewer for 365 Healthy by Choice. And then you will see on the bottle, it says second generation live probiotic and enzymes. What does second generation mean? It means that there's a second fermentation process where I've added in a whole lot of things here, like blue-green algae, chlorella spirulina, 6 medicinal mushrooms, moringa baobab, I've added in adaptogenic herbs, paramagnetic rock dust, zeolite, kelp. So then you get more nutrients that are not even written in books, because let's say spirulina brings in its own microbial cloud. In fact, spirulina is a blue-green algae, and part of it, the green is the bacteria. The blue is the cyano. So these foods are bringing in a high level of microbes that are going to produce nutrients that aren't in textbooks. And just to remind you, it is only poured when the pH is around 3.7. It has to be lower than 4. So people can call me and say, look, I've had this around for about 4 months or so. Is it still okay? Well, get a pH meter, get some litmus paper, determine the pH, and you will know straight away. You can taste it. You can also tell if the fermentation has gone off. The pH has, got closer to 5 or 6 or 7. And then you would never drink it. You would probably dilute it and put it on the soil. The soil will take care of it. If you did drink it, maybe you would get a little bit of a sore, upset stomach. I'll tell you a story, true story. A doctor bought a whole 500 mils and left it on her kitchen counter, and her son came home with cold, cough, flu, and in 2 days drank the entire bottle and came back to her the following second evening and said, where's some more of that cough mixture? He said, I feel absolutely amazing and I need some more. So she said, but what did you do? And he drank the entire bottle. So that just shows you actually how safe these are. So, more microbes means more fermentation, more clearing of the gut, more building of immunity. And we would use anything between 1 teaspoon to 1 tablespoon, 2 to 3 times a day, depending on the constipation level, the infection already in the gut, the diarrhea, and so on, the discomfort. The discomfort in the head is going to tell me also what dosage I need to use because of the gut-brain axis. So I want 75% of my immunity produced. I know that I'm 90% microbial. I also know that 99% of my genetics is microbial. And I know that the gut controls the brain and my mood. And I'm going to even go as far as saying my intelligence. So therefore, I'm going to eat a variety, cross-section of microbes. 2 doses of this a day, the sauerkraut, the miso, fermented miso, I said, kimchi, kefir. I'm gonna pick and choose, because the greater the variety, the better. So let's use these friendly microbes and build our biome. And I was reading something there. Some people buy microbes off the shop shelf and some buy them from inside the fridge. Now, the fridge ones come are packed and transported in what they call a cold chain. So in the fridge, refrigerated trucks, etc., etc. If they happen to break the cold chain, those organisms will come out of the dormant phase, let's say, find no food and die. So you're not guaranteed that what is on that packet, on the bottle or the packet is in you're going to get, because of the transport. The ones that are on the shelf, there's also no guarantee. And there's studies out there to say, that the probiotics aren't what is listed on the label. And that's why the industry talks about colony forming units, CFUs, colony forming units. We don't talk about that. We don't have to. We don't need hundreds of millions, gazillions, because we've got live ones. And you take it with your food, and they don't stay in the fridge. And they're automatically in a reproductive state. So that's a big difference. Plus, as I said, you're guaranteed of the organisms in there. Don't put it in the fridge. Don't put it near the fridge. Don't put it near a plug. That goes for any of them, because it's going to damage them. They're going to die. I told you the story. I put my kombucha with the SCOBY next to the fridge because I decided to swap tables, And the next thing, this kombucha just wasn't doing what it normally does. And I thought about this, and then I realized, hold on, it's in that electromagnetic field of the fridge, which is about 1.5 meters. Never mind being in the fridge. And we moved it and back to wonderful kombucha. The SCOBY revived and wouldn't think about it again. So it just shows you, we take this for granted. It's like an electric plug behind your bed. If you're sleeping in that arc of electromagnetic frequency waves, you're damaging your immune system every night. You're not recovering. You're not going to be able to reset. Not going to be able to reset yourself. Right. So now I want to really knuckle down now and give you some more hard-hitting facts about the gold standard. So by now you know how many live strains are in there. They're not freeze-dried, and it's made by a master brewer. It's second generation brewed, and this increases the number of live strains, available nutrients, and it's certified. Beneficial fungi, bacteria, and yeasts. And as you pour the liquid out and displace the liquid, you're bringing in air, and you might get a thin little layer of white actinomycetes on the top. Beneficial because they will be growing in the air that comes in. And that's perfectly normal and safe. So you're going to support the gastrointestinal tract, providing these beneficial bacteria, viruses, fungi, and actinomycetes. And as I said, they're friendly in the friendly form, but they go to war as soon as they need to. They'll shapeshift. And I like the idea of already living microorganisms as opposed to freeze-dried. They will go and scavenge pathogens, toxins, genetically modified organisms, and heavy metals. And I'm in for that as well. Build your immunity. Any one of those gut diseases is going to be eased, if not done away with, using a probiotic, even reflux. The biggest thing here is you're getting 100% digestion. Food digested. You use the flaxseed oil, which lines the gut lining. The food gets absorbed because you have a electrical potential. The other oils don't do that. So everything I talk about is science and physics. It has to be measured, modern day precision. But the evidence is there. And on the quantum machines, we can pick up the gut flora. It will tell us. So that's going to remove worms, pathogens, parasites. It's going to restore the homeostasis in the body. Remember, the mitochondria are in fact eukaryotes. They are bacteria themselves. We need organisms everywhere. It's going to pick up the enzyme levels also to assist with digestion of proteins, carbs, oils, cellulose. It's going to pick up our levels of serotonin, dopamine, GABA, PEA, the neurotransmitters. So anybody with depression, and I have clients that come in here, they won't be able to leave here without a bottle of probiotics. And they will need to take it 3 times a day, every single time they eat. And suddenly the serotonin gets produced by the organisms. Suddenly the vitamin B and the vitamin K get produced. So the vitamin B is going to help de-stress the client. Most of them are stressed anyway. That's why they don't have organisms. So it's going to also reduce acidity, reduce inflammation. I'm in. I want this. Reduce insecticides, pesticides. I already said the genetically modified organisms. Works out. They work like antioxidants. Just to remind you, if there's an oil spill in the sea, guess what they bring in? They bring in the effective microorganisms. If the sewerage is blocked, guess what they bring in? Effective microorganisms. So just think, they have this way. They will steam clean you inside. Just give them a chance. As I said, I advocate storing it in a dark cupboard and away from plugs. Definitely not in the fridge. So this is a powerhouse, and we're not just guessing here. We're actually producing a standardized product all the time. It's not hit and miss and guess. And sometimes you've got more of these and less of those, etc., etc. These microbes are responsible for weight loss because they will digest your food for you, provided that you're not heating your oil, eating sweets, white bread, sugar, white rice, white potato. Those are no-nos for anybody. That's not human food. You will lose weight. Take some of this, some sauerkraut, some kimchi, some miso, some natto. There's not a chance. That food gets pulverized and sent straight to the cell for energy. So again, it's food state microbiology. I've made it a signature product because we're second generation brewed. We're getting enhanced nutrients and living enzymes. And that's all a gut needs, So microbiome reset restores the microbiome, improves digestion, supports brain and mood and intelligence. There's the producing serotonin, improved cognition, and balances emotions. And there's enough scientific research to show their microbial effect on the brain and intelligence and emotions. Those depressed patients benefit from this. The sad ones, the ones in fear, the angry ones, all benefit. And then, as I say, it helps with the detoxification process, protects us, reduces inflammation. I'm in. I want this. So if you've got constipation or, as I said, emotional disorders, they'll be gone in days because the gut cleans. Then you need to support it with lifestyle, reducing your stress, good sleep, good rest, sunshine, earthing, breathing, hydration. And if you do that, you're going to get, your digestion restored, reflux will go, feel lovely and calm, and get your energy back, sleep well. Remember that hot drinks kill microbes. So you have this boiling hot cup of coffee. Well, first of all, you probably burnt your tongue, but you've killed every living organism in your mouth. It goes down your throat. It kills the organism that goes into your stomach and kills everything there too. So what's the use of that? And you've burnt your lining. So be aware of hot drinks. Be very, very aware. I mean, boiling water sterilizes. So why would we drink boiling tea? We're just going to sterilize everything that's in us. Just to say. Told you I'm giving you the hard-hitting facts today. There's the dosage again. With food, great idea because that whole meal will be digested. There's no problem putting it into your water as you go about drinking your daily either. In addition, no problem having a capful before you sleep. Imagine, they just multiply while you sleep. So my final message to you is to fix the microbiome, restore your health, and watch how everything changes. And I'm leaving you with this picture because this is the exact picture of microbiome reset. Exact. Repeatable. So the good news is the microbiome reset, along with the gut and brain reset products, the Mucuna, the brain fuel, the stress defense shield, the enzymes, are all less 15%. We've got about just over a week left of April for you to go and top up, stock up, and get your microbes sorted. So I would advocate the microbiome reset together with other nutrient-based ferments. If you want to ferment any vegetable, you're going to make a 2% salt solution. So let's say 20 grams of salt in 1.5 liters of water. Let's say 2 let's say 1.5 tablespoons. This is a better one. 1.5 tablespoons in 1.5 liters of water. And you pop your mustard leaves, you pop your carrots, you pop your red peppers, whatever you want to ferment. And you just leave it and you'll see the bubbles. So there's lots more to come. Last week I posted some beautiful recipes. I posted the brain fuel smoothie, probiotic smoothie, and I posted the Budwick kefir flaxseed oil mixture, and I posted about sauerkraut. And when I send the replay out, there will be some more recipes on tomorrow and Saturday, all different from around the world. And the microbes just carry ancient knowledge because they've been around for so long. They know it all. And when I put things in like medicinal mushrooms, remember that a medicinal mushroom, a chaga, a reishi, a cordyceps, a lion's mane, come from outer space. They're bringing in intelligence from other galaxies. And then when we ferment them, imagine we're getting even more nutrients. So that's my bundle for today. It's an area I'm passionate about because I'm 90% microbes, and so are you. So I hope I've whet your appetite. And when more recipes come out, go and have a look and watch the last 2 recordings in particular. Any questions, direct message me, please. And I'll be delighted to assist and help. And literally young and old, it makes no difference. You can even use the microbiome reset topically. If you get a rash or a burn, the little microbes get busy and they start healing. Too beautiful. So next week will be the last one on the gut brain axis. And then you'll have 4 or your own library. But you can refer to my YouTube anytime you want, or the library on my website. So happy wish.